Today is the 21st Sunday of the year. Our Gospel text is Luke chapter 13, verses 22 through 30. The opening sentence of that text is highly significant. Jesus went through one town and village after another, teaching as he made his way to Jerusalem. Jerusalem, in the consciousness of the Jewish people, is the heart and soul of the covenant, the place where they encounter God most especially. The temple in Jerusalem is the heart of the city of Jerusalem. Luke's gospel begins in the temple in Jerusalem, ends in Jerusalem. Jerusalem had been made by David the center of his kingdom. David's son Solomon built the first temple there in around about the year 1000 BC. Nebuchadnezzar destroyed that temple and the city at the beginning of the 6th century, about the year 586, 587. When the Jews were released from the Babylonian captivity, they came back to Jerusalem. They rebuilt the city. They began rebuilding the temple, the so-called Second Temple. That Second Temple was still not complete in the time of Jesus. There is an immense significance, therefore, in Jerusalem, and the temple in Jerusalem particularly. It represents the presence of God. It is, if you like, the fulfilling of the promise made to Moses on Sinai, I shall be with you. If we are to understand Jesus and his mission, as the first writers of the Gospels would have understood it, we need to have some sense of Jerusalem, the symbolism, the mythology, the part that it plays in the history of salvation. It's not surprising, once we begin to enter the story of Jerusalem, the symbolism of Jerusalem, it's not surprising that Jesus' mission should culminate there. He is the Messiah. He is the one promised. He is the inheritor of David's legacy. It's not surprising either when you consider the history of Jerusalem and Israel, that the culmination in Jerusalem will not be a pleasant one. Jesus himself says, I must journey today, tomorrow, and the following day. For it cannot be that a prophet should perish outside of Jerusalem. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you that kill the prophets, stone those who are sent to you. I wanted to gather you as a hen gathers her chicks, but you wouldn't. You were unwilling. The Jewish philosopher Abraham Joshua Heschel, in his remarkable book, God in Search of Man, notes Athens and Jerusalem, geographically and historically, are quite close. He says spiritually they are worlds apart. The tradition of Athens, which has dominated our Western way of thinking, is very rationalistic, very analytical. The tradition of Jerusalem is much more imaginative, much less focusing on the rational and the analytical, more on storytelling and drawing the person in through the heart rather than the head. It's not less valuable for that. It's just different. And if we can't make that step from the Greek tradition into the Jewish tradition, we will never understand not only Jerusalem, but Jesus himself and the life, death, and resurrection of him as the Messiah. In entering that story, that mythology, in imaginatively being part of the thinking of the people of that time, we can start to get some sense not only of Jesus himself, but his teachings. It's as well for us to sit with the notion of Jerusalem as the place of God's being with the people. The ultimate encounter with God. This is where God acts